Warsenal Studio B in Chandler, Arizona, this is MayaCast. Welcome to another edition of MayaCast. I'm your host, Tom Shadle.
I'm your host, Kip Parcell.
And this is episode 201 for Friday, October 5th, 2018. Xeno, Warrior Princess. Coming up on today's show, we're going to talk about ITSX, Season 10 of the ITS. We are not going to be talking about specific missions and tactics and all that stuff. We're going to talk about the overall changes to the season and that sort of stuff. Basically, the first part of the packet before you get to the missions. That's what we're going to talk about. So we'll talk about the new extra rules and the Xenotech guy and the new classified deck and all that sort of stuff. That's what we're talking about today. But coming up first, I would like to take a moment because this weekend is Arizona Armageddon.
It is.
And we got 64 players from several different states and even different countries. The United States, Canada, and Sweden will all be represented.
Nice.
And it's going to be a great time. We have a lot of fantastic sponsors that have either donated discount cards for the swag bags, or gift cards that people can win as prizes, or actual physical product, or they have given us a discount on some of their items so that we can have them in as prizes as well. Everybody's going to walk. Everybody that comes to Armageddon not only gets a swag bag chock full of stuff with a t-shirt and a patch and a satellite tournament patch and a faction patch and a dice roller, a little neoprene dice roller that snaps up in the corners. It's really cool. And special stuff from Warsenal. And they're keeping a secret. It's a holographic cactus 40 millimeter objective marker. It's really cool. And the discount cards and the coupons. And so swag bag chock full of stuff, right? Everybody will also leave with a prize. And so we want to give a shout out to all of the people that helped us out. Deep Cut Studios gave us a great discount on their custom dice rollers, those neoprene dice rollers. Deep Cut Studio did them. They also do game mats. They can do custom game mats. I have their one that's called Gotham. It's gorgeous. Nice. It's all black and nighttime. It's really, really cool. So Deep Cut Studio gave us a great deal on those dice rollers so we could afford to give everybody one. Warsenal, of course, stepped up big and gave us a sweet, sweet deal on all of the stuff, like the special thing for the bags and the trophies and everything. And so thank you to Warsenal for all your help. There is a full-color Arizona Armageddon logo template up for grabs, an Aida Swanson template.
That one actually looks a freak. Both of those look amazing, but when I saw that one, it kind of blew me away.
All the trophies, the little made a special little icon that we're putting onto the Gladius that the first prize winner is going to take home. So great work out of Jay. Really appreciate everything that Warsenal did for us. Corvus Belli, of course, great sponsor. Sent some models and some products, some posters, some terrain, copy of Outrage, copy of the Japanese book, Uprising, and sorry, and they sent like 40 patches. They sent all of the satellite patches, so everybody gets a satellite patch. The tournament pack. So Corvus sent us a lot of great support. So I really appreciate that. Micro Art Studio offering cash money to everybody that placed an order through their store. There's a discount code in everybody's bag. Skylab's Terrain. So if you haven't seen Skylab's Terrain, go check them out on Facebook or at their website. They sent an objective room that somebody's going to win. They sent what they call their Quick Ups bundle, and they are these slotted buildings, sort of similar to like the Ice Storm terrain, right?
Okay.
But it's MDF, so you can paint it, make it look real nice, and then it slots together in the corners, so you can like take a whole bunch of it in a very small space, like a backpack, and then you slot it all together, and you put up your table in no time. So it takes up almost no space. Really cool. And then the creme de la creme is the mammoth, big old construction vehicle thing.
That's a prize?
That's a prize.
You've got to be kidding me.
No, it's amazing.
Man. Oh, so when you posted that today, because sometimes I get these MayaCast for like things on my phone. I'm like, oh, Tom posted something, and I have to go look at it. And I saw that, and I was like, that's amazing.
No, you can't have it.
Well, I know I can't have it, but I'm just
going to Armageddon.
I thought it was just like, hey, we found this cool terrain because I hadn't talked to you today before we recorded. I didn't know that was the actual prize. Now I really wish that I was going. I am so bummed that I'm not going to be here this weekend.
Battle Kiwi sent a whole bunch of prizes. Not only do they have the coolest logo in all of gaming.
Yeah, they do.
They make really cool stuff for your Infinity games or other games. Perhaps you're having a war in the stars and your legions are fighting each other.
Right. Nice. Well done. Well freaking done.
They have a whole set of terrain that's totally not Endor. And
that is what in the radio world they would say, talking in median.
Yeah. So Battle Kiwi sent a whole bunch of stuff. We really appreciate that. And I can't wait to get to work on my totally not Endor table. Gingermane Studios, who I was not familiar with until Ethan Pearson, Snowball, who we've talked about on the show, showed up and he's got a whole table of Gingermane Studios terrain that's all painted
that
up.
Black and orange stuff?
That he painted black and orange. Yeah, it's gorgeous. And so check out Gingermane Studios. They included a discount for everybody in everybody's swag bag.
I think it's funny, and I find it ironic that I've never heard what it is, but you said Gingermane, and his is all orange.
Yeah. So the official stuff, like all the acrylics orange, and like the MDF has like a white finish. So when it's together, it's just white and orange. So orange is definitely a theme. Their logo is orange.
Okay, that makes sense.
Orange is definitely a theme for Gingermane Studios.
It looks beautiful though.
For our Best Painted Army Award, Slow Fuse Gaming, who is becoming Monument. They stepped up really big. They have a hobby bag, a hobby go bag where you can take like 48 paints and all the models you're going to paint protected in foam in this bag. And so the Best Painted Army is going to get that. They're going to get a set of their detail brushes, their miniature detail brushes, some of their awesome brush soap, and a very cool brush holder. So it's a whole like painting hobby thing. So if you haven't been over to Slow Fuse Gaming, check out all of their hobby offerings, brushes and paints and bags and all sorts of cool stuff and accessories for your hobby needs, no matter what game you play. Black Maria Designs sent some gift certificates that people can win to spend cash money in their online store. Check out Black Maria Designs for their cool terrain. Impudent Mortal also makes great terrain. What they sent this time is hobby and gaming accessory equipment. There's an infinity tournament tray that holds like your tokens and your models and stuff. And then there's a paint pot like to-go rack. Pots Carry, I think is the name of it. So it's a carry case for your paint pots, which is pretty cool. And Game Mat EU gave us a very good deal on some gaming mats, some for our tables and some for prizes, as well as Frontline Gaming, who gave us a nice discount for their stuff so we could get those in as prizes as well. Custom Ink made all of the t-shirts everybody's getting.
There you go.
Net Pro patches were amazing and did our Arizona Armageddon patches, and they're really fast and they look really good. And thanks to Coney and Heloise from Corvus Belly for helping us to get that tournament pack and become a satellite tournament and all that stuff and all the help they gave us. Coney and Heloise, A+ fellas. So there ends the commercial for our Arizona Armageddon 3 sponsors. We had a painting contest MayaCast Masterclass Quarter 3, 2, 3, 3. It was 3.
Quarter 3, yeah. We're going into Q4.
Heroes and Villains. And that is over now. And we will get the gallery up soon, probably after Armageddon's over.
I think we said that it would go up after Armageddon.
Yeah, the gallery will go up, and then on our next show, if you're wondering, like, oh, we're going to find out this show, what the new... We're going to tell you next... So take a week off, man. Relax. On the next show, we will announce the Quarter 4 category for the MayaCast Masterclass, as well as the winners of the Quarter 3. So that gallery should go up soon, and we'll announce the winners next week. Next order of business. We have been terrible humans. We are behind on giving out prizes.
Once again.
To, second time this happened. To our amazing supporters over at patreon.com, org. I don't know. Listen through the end credits.
Patreon.com.
At the end of the show. Patreon.com/MayaCast.
It's one of those ones where I go, Patreon.com.
It could be.
Favorite voice ever.
So we're going to give out some prizes. We are several behind. We're going to give out 2 prizes for each category tonight, and then 2 next week.
Mm-hmm. And then
2 then we have like a week or 2 off before we're all caught up.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. So, light infantry. Those are our $1 per episode supporters. We thank you so much. They're going to win a blister pack. And Kip, the first one is
Mr. Fohawk himself, James Chavohawk.
So I've heard of him. I know him.
Yeah. But I like to call him James Chavohawk.
Yeah. So congratulations, James. Any Infinity
He's a
blister
really awesome dude, by the way.
that you would like, just let us know, and we'll get that out to you. Also, those of you, everybody should have received their prizes that they have asked for, unless it's a painted model, which we're still working on. And but the other ones, all the blisters and boxes have gone out. You should have them. If for some reason you don't have them, please let us know.
Yeah.
Hit us up on Facebook or send us an email at tom@mayacast.com.
And Kip at MayaCast.com.
And then we will rectify the situation. We'll try and locate the tracking and see what went awry. But all of the prizes that have been asked for have been sent out. So everybody should have their stuff. So James Chavot wins a blister pack. Also, the other winner of a Infinity blister pack is
Simon Wellstead.
Simon Wellstead, James Chavot. If you win a prize, all you have to do is email tom@mayacast.com.
And Kip at MayaCast.com.
And Willet@mayacast.com.
Yes,
and
do that one.
Then and let us know what it is you would like and what your mailing address is. And then we get the prizes, and then we ship them out to you. So, let us know what you'd like. Medium infantry. These are our... is it $5 an episode supporters?
Yes.
Our medium infantry win any Infinity box set.
Not including the big ones.
Yeah, the regular size box set.
Yeah.
And the first medium infantry, thanks to random.org, is...
I believe this says Shane Leonard. Shane Leonard, you get a box set of your choice.
And the other medium infantry box set winner is...
Hold on, this is going to be hard for me to say. It's Chuck Cordovino. I'm just kidding. I knew how to say that. Chuck Cordovino, that's right?
Cordovano?
Dang it. See, as soon as I try to make a joke, I totally screwed up.
Yeah, you shouldn't.
Yeah, no. That's bad.
So, any Infinity box set, let us know what you like. Chuck Cordovano and Shane Leonard are the winners. And then for heavy infantry, now we need to slow down a minute. So, we're behind on our painting. We know that. We apologize. We're working hard. And we'll get them to you as soon as we can. We don't want to rush it just to get them out. We want to do them right. Here's what we're giving away
as the new format
for heavy infantry right now. So we have mentioned him in the past. He's a phenomenal artist. You've seen his work if you follow us on Facebook, right? His name is Florian Stitz. Florian is going to do an original pencil sketch for you. Okay? And so we need to get caught up on painting. We can't add more to the end of the queue. Right now we need a little breather. So Florian Stitz, amazing, generous Florian Stitz, has offered to do a pencil drawing of an Infinity character for you. Now, it can be you if you want. It could be your face on whatever body you want. I want to be a chasseur.
Yeah, or as like Sterling said, he's like, I want to be sepsitarized Sterling. He also, when we were talks, he's like, it doesn't have to be them. It could be like, hey, what spec ops do you want? What character do you want? Like, say you want a really good portrait of your favorite Infinity character in your paint room. It's whatever you want, pretty much.
So, Florian Stitz, amazing artist, going to do an original pencil drawing for you. It could be your face on a thing. It could be a character. It can just be an Infinity profile that you like, right? Like, really awesome, one of a kind, unbelievable stuff.
Yeah, that's a huge thing. It's one of a kind. It's a one of a kind.
And so we have the 2 heavy infantry winners that we're going to announce this week. The first one, Kip Parcell, is...
Do I have to say this name?
You do.
I don't consider him a brother anymore because he ran away from us. Mr. Myomer himself, Louis Frash. It's ironic that random.org popped you up because as soon as Tom told me the number and I saw the name, I'm like, nope, but we can't cheat. So yes, Louis, you won. You son of a gun. Are now not in Arizona anymore, and I miss you already.
Everything is coming up, Myomer. New job, new wife.
Right.
And an original piece of Florian art. I imagine
he
Louis...
did just get married, though. Like,
congratulations. I imagine him picking, like, Tariq Mansouri, but with the head of a T-Rex.
There you go.
And then the second original art winner is
Van Zant himself, Greg Patterson. Greg Patterson, you now have won a piece of Florian Stitz amazing art, which is hanging in my paint room, by the way, because his joined Caledonia. He gave that to me like 6 years ago at Essen when I showed up when I was still working for the Foamy Overlord. Amazing family, really awesome guy. That's when we became even better friends. Was when I met him for the first time in person and hung out most of the day. And he brought that to me, and he brought a bunch of stuff to bring back for Tom and some other people. And that is like one of my favorite posters that I always make room for whenever. And I had to actually, in the new room, I had to fight for it because my wife didn't want any nerd things up. But I was like, I have to have this one. Because he brought that straight for me. It's super cool. So I'm stoked for you two that won this.
Florian is fantastically talented, and I'm glad that we can engage his services to provide this unique opportunity for our supporters, and thank all of our supporters for all of your generosity and, well, support. So only 18 and a half minutes into the podcast, and we're finally going to get into our topic. And again, we will continue to catch up next week with more Patreon winners. But right now, it's time for us to get into ITSX, or as I like to call it, it's sex.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles.
Very heavy resistance, sir.
Yes. But why are they using such primitive weapons?
Now entering the war room.
So ITSX is upon us, the 10th anniversary of the ITS, and it brings with it some new rules, a lot of the same stuff, and the first thing I want to do is let you know, we said at the end of one of the episodes, there is a new app out there called Comlog. Comlog. You can search for that one word on the Google Play Store or the iTunes Store and find this app, Comlog. It's 100% free, and it has all of your ITS missions on it, so you can just click the name and get the missions and see how to score, see how to set up the table. It's all there for you, easy access. Everything loads way faster than the PDF, and much more concise easier to follow. It is A++. Comlog is instantly indispensable.
It's a lifesaver.
And not only that, you can create events with it. You have a tournament coming up with these 3 missions. You can create an event with those 3 missions so that they're all condensed in one place for you. It's got a randomized selector. So if you're going to practice for that tournament that you created, you can hit the randomizer. It picks one of those 3 missions. And
Oh, nice.
That's what you play. You can also just randomize the entire list of all the ITS missions, and it'll just pick one for you to play as well.
I have not used the randomized feature yet.
The additions coming up, it will include the booty charts and the metachemistry charts and all that stuff. So increased functionality, but even if it was just the ITS missions alone, absolutely worth it, and has replaced the PDF for me 100% completely.
I would agree with you.
Super easy
100% completely.
Hit that app on your phone and get all the information you need. Comlog. And links to download it directly, to go directly to the stores, will be right there in the show notes so you can check it out. New rules for ITSX Bravery is the first one.
Oh, yeah.
All medium infantry. If your troop type is medium infantry, you gain forward deployment level 1. If you already have forward deployment level 1, you get forward deployment level 2. Mm-hmm. If you already had level 2, and I don't know if there's any medium infantry that do, but you gain no extra benefit.
No, you get 0.
But doesn't matter. Kip, what do you think about Bravery?
So I think it's amazing, but it's funny is so I was writing my notes and I try to write them very fast, and it's like, well, here's my thoughts. And I was like, oh, this will be really easy. All medium infantry gain +1 to their level of forward deployment because there's only level 2. But I didn't think about if any medium infantry had 2, they would gain 3.
They would
the
not.
way I
Nope.
wrote this.
Yeah.
So I've been living in the realm of infinity rules for like 7 years. So I still write things out of context without looking, but. No, super exciting for me, honestly. When I read this,
Well, why is that?
well,
Because you
it's
play...
biased. Biased.
Because you play what faction?
Well, lately it's USARF and Druze, which the majority of your troops that you take are medium infantry. So it's like, oh, my people get forward deployment level 1 now. Oh, and Marauders get freaking level 2. Sweet, that's amazing. Hari's team. And I know that's only like 2 factions, but toning it down a bit instead of getting overexcited about the 2 things that I play the most. It's really, really good because, man, that 4-2, it took me a long time to really get used to last year, maybe about for the last 18 months, like getting used to using those to their full potential, because I was always stuck in the archaic ways of defensive fire teams and doing this and blah, blah, blah. Well, things have changed a lot over the last 2 years to where I think most armies and lists are more dynamic, and I did get stuck in the archaic ways, and luckily Tom helped me break out of that. But it was really until I played Druze that broke me out of it, because I didn't have the safety net of a 20 order list or an 18 order list, right? So like playing with I only have 13 orders, or I'm playing with a 10 order list because everything's very expensive, which is why I liked playing Druze so much, because it was very limited. People could predict, so you had to get good at what they were at. And without that safety net, you have to be extremely mobile with your 4-2 troops. Especially when you have to run across the table and do stuff. So the fact that we now get Bravery, all of us out there in the Infinity Land, with those factions, it makes factions like Druze, where it's heavy medium infantry, like that's I know heavy medium, right? I know, where you're using a lot of medium infantry. It gives you like that extra deployment, so it's kind of a benefit of your movement. But when you're playing like spam factions like US Ariadne, like being able to deploy that far up the field, it makes some really fun combinations, man. I mean, when this first came out, I immediately pulled up USARF, and I was like, I have 2 things in my army out of 18 that are going to have to deploy in my deployment zone if I make 4 rolls on 8s. for the inferior infiltrating grunts. But that's fun. It's super fun. I like these new things that they throw out every season to kind of like shake the norms, right? But it does help out with that 4-2 movement in the initial movement phase.
I had no idea we were going to burn so many minutes.
Sorry.
On bravery.
I could have talked 10 more minutes.
Landing assistance. 83, 4, and 5. That's inferior combat jump, and superior combat jump. Do not need to place the circular template to represent their drop zone. Any flat area that their base can be fully in contact with will serve as their drop zone. So now, to be honest, when placing AD troops, it's not like all the time where the templates, I just can't get them where I want. You usually can put them where you want, but this is going to make trying to prepare for them a nightmare.
Way harder.
Because, right? Because they can pop up just about anywhere.
So this actually goes back to the very first time I learned about this in like N2. And in my mind, I was always like, man, we're jumping out of planes like right now, or drop ships, right? I was like, right now, we can fly a helicopter in and land on the smallest roof. So why do we need a template? This makes a lot of sense. And honestly, I'm hoping that like these ITS like bonuses, because you see that some flow over and some go away. Maybe this is like a test, I hope, to where it's like, hey, AD should work like this from now on. Let's see if it's broken, right? No, it sucks. It totally sucks. But if you're using it, I think it's really freaking cool because...
Or it's a trap because people walk on from the edges not because they have to place the template. They walk on from the edges because they don't want to make the roll.
True.
So now, what if it's a trap where you're like, ooh, that's a really good spot.
So I want to make the roll.
And so you want to make the roll, and then you fail it, and you scatter, and you get shot to pieces when you land.
You weren't supposed to say that, though. I'm just kidding. No, I like that, though. I like that even more because, yes, we are going to see more people try and make these. You're
going to sell more Evo remotes.
That's true. That's true. But what about those? So what about those buildings that are just like a 1/4 inch too small on one side? Like everything fits, but like the two little, even an 1/8 of an inch. Now you can land on that, which it should be that way, I think. Which would cause more rolls, which does, yes, makes the decision a little bit harder. So I'm a huge fan of this rule. I actually hope it stays from here on out. I am terrified of it because it's going to be way harder to try to defend it.
To try and prepare for it in deployment.
But I like that because AD should be that scary. And the way it is now, quite frankly, it's a little easier to defend. I mean, depending on the table setup, but this would help with the people that are like, well, I like really dense tables. Well, guess what? You're not going to screw me over on my AD deployment now because I can just move wherever. Back in the day, we had people that didn't like AD before like ITS got super popular, and they would condense the table and show up and be like, well, man, I can't even land anywhere. That totally screws my plan. Well, you can't do that to people now with this rule, which I really like. So I hope this is a tester. Can't wait to see what opinions come out of this after, a year of playing it like this. Because I kind of, in the beginning right now, my opinion could change in case it gets way too out of control. But I kind of hope this stays. Like, we'll get down to other rules that stayed, but I kind of hope this stays.
We'll see. There's one question right now that is so far unanswered, and that is whether net rods and Ichadrons, the AI Imatrons rather, the AI beacons, whether they benefit from landing assistance. And the question is because they are not troopers.
Because they're equipment.
However, the rule says troops, which is not necessarily a keyword.
Yeah, it's not a trooper.
Trooper is a keyword. So it's so it'll be interesting to see how Heloise decides to rule on that
I hope
when
they
he
do.
does.
I hope they do.
Yeah, that'd be super.
Yeah, I hope they do.
Be super helpful. I've played a couple of games with Netrods with ITSX rules, and
You're like, oh yeah.
super convenient to try and stick them in a
Right?
niche
I
where
think
they
they should.
normally wouldn't be able to go. Doesn't matter when you flub both roles, though, in one game. Yeah. So, thanks to the long service special rule for ITSX, troopers whose troop classification is character also gain the troop classification of veteran troop, which is important for the classifieds that require a veteran troop, as well as like hunting party, where all veterans will get a adhesive launcher in addition to their normal weapons. And so if you add character, you now also have veteran and count for those instances.
Yeah, I'm so here's where I wish we had video, because I was literally doing my hallelujah, hallelujah dance, because I always thought that characters should have this trait, because he saves us. This is huge.
The weird ones are the ones where you have a named character who's not a character.
Yeah,
Nor are they veteran or elite.
I know. But
They have a name. What do you mean they're a specially trained troop?
But most of them will have that. But
I just long for
hey,
consistency.
see Sforza in last week's episode. But yeah, no, like this is huge because I'm still wrapping my head around this veteran elite troop thing. And that's me being archaic. You know, I'm kind of the archaic one. It takes me a little bit to get used to things. And you have all these really cool characters, but they can't do like the cool things, right? I'm glad they fixed that. And when we did the draft, I found that out because I was like, man, I have no veteran or elite, but I have all these really veteran characters. Like I have Saladin, I have Mary Problems. Like, why can't they be veteran? Like they're named, like they've made a name for themselves.
Finally, Achilles will be worth it.
Yeah. Oh, he is a character, isn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, do you remember
so
Sam
dumb.
Kinison? That's like a 1985 joke. And I was like 4 when that came out. So, yes, I like history. Anyways, I think this is huge.
Every time I kiss you, I taste what other men have had for lunch.
That's over. What? Where did that come from?
He did a cover of Wild Thing.
Oh, that's so right. I was like, wait, that took a weird turn. What are we talking about?
Ironclad.
Oh, man. Wait, I didn't finish my long service.
Oh, you have more about long service? How can you possibly have more? All right, go.
I was just, never mind.
No, please finish.
I was just saying it actually makes certain characters worth more now because they can do more instead of just being a hacker or just being this person or just having a certain skill. So they can actually do the veteran elite troops, which was a given. So sorry. Go on. Ironclad.
So by not finishing, you just wanted to repeat everything you already said?
Pretty much, that's how I roll.
Good job. So, Ironclad is a holdover from ITS Season 9, and that is the one where tags get Fatality Level 1, which is +1 damage to all of their Ballistic Skull attacks where they roll for BS.
But that's what makes me excited about these new things.
Is that like, some may hold over to a new season?
Hold over.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, then they start becoming the norm, right? So I'm hoping it's like, well, we're testing these things, and the ones that aren't too bad, but they make sense, we keep. So, yes.
Another holdover is that single combat group list cannot be the victim of the strategic use of command tokens that takes 2 orders out of your order pool. So that is the same as last year as well. And then all of the extras are the same. So Spec Ops, Limited Insertion, Soldiers of Fortune, and the Escalation format all remain the same. So now, the first real big change I mean, you could argue that landing assistance and bravery are big changes, but the first lengthy change is there's a new classified deck. Mm-hmm. They've been in stores for a week. Hopefully your local was on the ball and got theirs ordered from the distributor so that you have yours in your pretty little hands.
Just put mine in my pretty little hands right now.
If not, you can, ask them to make sure they get them for you, or Shiv Games is always a good source. And, we have the new decks come with new classifieds. Instead of, 10 classifieds, and you had 4 copies of each.
Pretty much,
There are now 20 classifieds, and you get a single copy of each in a green deck, which is the standard mode.
Hold on.
And then you also get 20 copies of each on red cards, which is the extreme mode. And
This is me pulling mine out for the first time.
And no,
On air.
and nobody noticed that you pulled it out.
I know. That's usually how it happens.
Yep. So there are the organizer will decide whether you do standard mode or extreme mode for the tournament, and then there's one mission that has a specific caveat about using extreme mode as well. But mostly we're gonna be looking at these green cards. And
That's what my family did when they came over 30 years ago.
all right, so
I'm third generation American. That makes me all the way American, right?
coconut.
Yeah. Chihuahua,
So
Mexico.
let's talk about these new
1932.
classifieds. So we're going to start. We're going to go in numerical order. And so since there's 20 different classifieds, and they still have numbers on them for Intelcom, they are numbered 1 through 20. Mm-hmm. So the 1 point card has the new classified called Follow Up. A medium or heavy infantry has to get the HVT in their zone of control, and then spend a short skill and pass a whip roll. If they also have line of fire, they get a +3 to that whip roll.
Nice.
So another encouragement to bring medium and heavy infantry. And the mediums are already starting up 4 or 8 inches
So we can kind of see how that
outside of your deployment zone. So get the HVT in your zone of control, and short skill whip roll +3 if you have line of fire. The extreme version of that is the exact same thing, except the whip roll is -3 or no penalty if you have them in line of fire.
Okay.
So it's harder. So the extreme mode, a lot of times, not very imaginative, but it is technically harder. Doesn't make it more interesting, but it does make it technically
A little harder.
harder.
Yeah.
So, right. So you face a lot of light infantry spam a lot of times with maybe some remote support. Now those people, in addition to their doctor and their forward observer and their engineer and all the things you needed to bring, and your veterans and elites, all the things you needed to do the old classifieds, you have all those still, and now you also need to make sure you have medium or heavy infantry
In case you get follow-up.
that can do follow-up or some of these other classifieds. So there's more requirements in your list building.
Man. I'm going to say, because I usually will be like, this is awesome, because it's going to totally make you build things the other way. But then you'd be like me, and it takes a year to figure it out.
The 2-point
It's so sad.
the 2-point card is Net Undermine. Some very cool artwork on this one. The art and design on the new deck is fantastic.
Love it.
Way better than the old one.
I do love it better than the old ones.
So Net Undermine, you need a model that has the troop classification of veteran, elite, or has the chain of command.
Can we get that on Army printouts, please?
Special skill. It'd be amazing if the official army builder actually printed those,
That
so
you're
you knew
required
who was
to
who.
use to play in a tournament and actually have
Hopefully
these
it'll
printed
get
out.
fixed.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're aware of it because everyone's screaming about it. And remember, all character. If your troop classification is character, this season you count as a veteran, so you're good to go for Net Undermine. You have to do a short skill and succeed at a whip roll while you are completely within the enemy's half of the table. seems simple enough as long as you have the correct sort of troops in your list. The extreme version is, instead of just being within the enemy's half of the table, you have to do it in their deployment zone.
Okay. All the way up there.
Yep.
Oh, wait, but characters can do this, right?
Yeah.
All right, Algebel.
Or anybody with veteran, elite, or chain of command. You might have a drop troop who's one of
Hey, there's the AD rule.
that can
Yeah.
come in and then just spend 1 order to move and 1 order to do the net undermine, and Bob is your uncle.
Or Rajiks that just drop in there and do it.
Net, are they veterans?
Rajiks? I thought they were elites.
Or whatever. Are they one or the other?
I believe they're elites, yes.
I mean, if you're going to say it, you should know.
They are, because you did it to me in our game.
There we go.
They are elites. That's what makes them so good.
Net undermine also has a symbol on it, and it's kind of like a targeting reticle. And those symbols matter because in certain ITS missions this season, it will say that if you have a classified with this symbol on it, you can cancel the classified of that somebody else did that had a different symbol on it.
Yeah.
So
that's going to get really interesting.
yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. And secure the HVT is still a thing. You can replace your classified with that. Mm-hmm. So if during the course of the game they are able to, use their I don't know. So there's symbols, and they're going to cancel each other out, and we'll talk more about that as we talk about individual missions later on, not today.
That's like a whole show worth of canceling and working it out.
The number 3, the 3-point card, HVT Identity Check, another new one. You have to have a troop with biometric visor, multispectral visor, or sensor. If you get the HVT, if you have a biovisor or the MSV, and you get an HVT in line of fire and your zone of control, then you can do a short skill and make a willpower check. If you have sensor, they just need to be in your sensor area. You don't need the line of fire.
Okay.
And so you're doing a short skill willpower check, and then you identity check the HVT, and you get that classified. However, the extreme version is the exact same thing with a -6 modifier. So again, not necessarily more interesting, but technically harder. And I think we mentioned briefly how ITS 10 is setting us up even more so to encourage lists with very high order counts. And it's stuff like this is the reason why.
Yeah.
So how many times? So with -6, most people have a 35% chance of succeeding. Right? They need a 7 or less. I guess it's a 40% chance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, 35% chance. Never mind. Shut up, Tom.
But even on the green one, right? That's first thing I'm going to say before this is there's a higher chance that you're going to get a wider variety of things you have to do, since it's not 4 of
right.
Yeah. But you say you pull one like this, and as we get in, you pull another one that's you have to get really far across the table, and you're like, man, my classifieds are really hard to get, which is going to decrease the amount of like 10-0s or 8-0s. It might actually result in more minors and ties on the classified draw, because it's not going to be so easy like, oh, well, I have telemetry, I'm just going to do this, and I have this, it's so easy, I'm going to do this. You know what I mean? It seems like it's not as straightforward, especially if you play the extreme version. Like it's really not that straightforward. So it's like on those missions that have 2 classifieds, there's a very real chance that you don't get either of them.
Well, and you definitely want to look through your army and try to find new combinations that you never thought were relevant before, such as a medium infantry with MSV that is also an elite troop.
Well, I know of one that has two of those
so that
classifications.
So that
off the top of my head,
there's a ton.
Yeah,
that have medium infantry and MSV.
I was thinking just one,
but they're also a veteran or they're also an elite, right? Because now you are you're covering those first 3 with a single model. So you're gonna You want to look for those valuable combinations, and that's something we'll do and probably talk about on a show is try and find the new brand of multi-specialist.
It's kind of like the first time ITS came about, where we had to deal with Forward Observer and all this, which has become the norm now. But when it came out, it was like, wait, I have to take these bots and these models. Like, I never would have took these before. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like, why would I take that, this, and this? But it's the norm now because the ITS has been around for 10 years, 10 seasons. So maybe 9 years? I don't know, because there's been half years. But
classifieds haven't been around for 10 years.
No. It actually even hasn't been 10 years because we've only been playing for 7.
Was it 3 or 4 years?
It's been about 6 years.
Was it 3 or 4 years of ITS was just go kill the enemy?
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It hasn't been 10 years, but we're in season 10, which has a entire shelf life of about 6 or 7 years. And when it first switched to all of these specialists in the beginning, we had this uproar of people being like, well, wait, why are Evos now cool? Why are Ford like all this? And then it became the norm, and it's been the norm for at least the last 4 or 5 years. And now we're seeing our new switch into letting other troop types become important. And if we roll with this for the next 4 years, it's just going to become normal until they make another switch. I kind of like it.
So the 4.1 is capture. And this has the targeting reticule icon on it. And capture requires veteran, elite, or chain of command, much like Net Undermine does. You have to get in base contact with a enemy model in a null state, and be completely on the enemy side of the table at the end of the game.
Oh my goodness.
And then the hard mode, instead of the enemy side of the table, is in their deployment zone.
Okay, so I was reading deployment zone in my mind. So enemy half a table, not that bad. Enemy deployment zone, that's like when you do on turn 3 when people are dead. It's like, goodness gracious.
The enemy must be totally inside the enemy's half of the game table, and your model that is a veteran, elite, or has chain of command must be in base contact with it. So if they're right up at the line, you can still be in your half because it's the enemy model that says it has to be completely over. But yeah, so you shoot something over there, it goes unconscious, you got to run up to it and stand next to it and remain there at the end of the game.
Hence AD combat that could just drop in and be like, hey, I'm here.
I mean, I guess it's one way. Something that's fast.
Hidden deployment. Hidden deployment troops could do that pretty well.
That's going to, like, I can imagine that being a lot of, like, it's the third turn, I have to get in, that's not one that you're just doing early in your first turn to have it done, because you have to be in base contact at the end of the game. So that is okay, I've done all the objectives and I've gotten all my points, now I need to go get my classified, so I need to move this model into base contact with one of those unconscious dudes on your side of the table, here I go.
It kind of makes an emphasis of getting your objectives done earlier than just waiting.
Well, you can't on this one. You have to be in base contact at the end of the game.
No, that's what I was saying. It's like if I have this
your
classified,
objectives.
if I have this classified, I need to make sure I get my objectives done earlier instead of just going and killing things and trying to bide my time. It's like, no, I have to have this, do this.
Or you're going to say, screw that, I'm just going to go secure the HVT.
Boom, kid. Yep.
Because I only have to get within 8 inches.
Yes, you could.
And it doesn't have to be on your side of the table.
What happens if they ever take away secure the HVT? We're all screwed.
Certain factions are doubly screwed.
Yeah, seriously,
or certain
right?
lists. Like,
don't ever do that.
So the 5-point card is finally a familiar one, HVT Kidnapping. Well, sort of familiar. We've had it for a year. It also has the targeter icon on it. It's veteran, elite, or chain of command. The same combination. Must get in the Civivac state with the enemy HVT at the end of the game. Now, you can sync up with that HVT earlier and then pull her along with you throughout the rest of the game, so you can theoretically do this at any time. But at the end of the game, you must be in the Civivac state with the enemy HVT with a model that is veteran, elite, or chain of command. The hard mode is the same thing, but you must be completely within your own half of the table. And typically the enemy HVT is not in your half of the table.
So you have to run that
Back. Yeah.
person back.
So veterans, elites, chain of command definitely needs to get printed on the army list.
I 100% agree, because who is the first person that forgets all this? Me. It's the most frustrating thing in the world. It's something that, I don't know, and it could be me personally, but it's just really hard to remember. And not saying that
Because we've never had to use it before.
yeah, but I mean, again, archaic. That's why
There was no point of even knowing what they were because they had no impact on the game.
And I don't want to say that that's wrong, that it's changed, because again, I continuously will sometimes go archaic, since, man, when you have a rule set this complex and you've tried to remember it for so many years, yes, you have crossover. Kind of sucks sometimes. Like I get caught in crossover, and I am the first person to admit when I am wrong about something. You do your best, but you only have so many databases. And when you rely on your army lists a lot of times because you're playing a new faction, and maybe you want to play a new faction because you're like, hey, I want to know what everything does, or I want to experiment with a new faction because I don't want to just play the same thing all the time, because that's the best thing about Infinity is you can do so many different things because it's easier access. But you have all these extra rules you got to remember, and then if you have to remember who's veteran or elite, nobody remembers that unless you play the same faction all the time. Like, all the time. So, yes, please print those out. End of rant. I'm done.
So that's already 3 that require vet, elite, or chain of command. So much like when classifieds first came out and you started adding paramedics and forward observers,
Right.
you're going to start adding those. HVT inoculation is the 6-pointer. Ooh, new icon. It has a cross, like a medical cross, like the Red Cross. Red Cross logo. Doctor or paramedic, short skill, and make a whip +3 roll while in base-to-base contact with the HVT. And you can do this with ghost servants, palbots, Udbots, Yowzows, and the like. So
Was it whip +3 on the last one, or was it just whip?
I think it was just whip.
I'm gonna agree with you. I didn't
Hard
bring
mode is a whip -3. So yawn. Yeah, so that's we know that one. You know how to do that one. We've done it all the time. 7 points with a gear icon.
Okay. The Gears of War.
Right. Models with the targeting icon, or classifieds with the targeting icon, may cancel a classified with the gear icon in this mission. It's coming up. But yeah, so 7 is sabotage. It's a decharge. You pick the scenery item on your enemy's half of the table before you deploy, and you got to go put a decharge on it. Then you have to detonate the decharge. Yeah. No rolls or anything. It just burns those 2 orders in addition to however long it took you to get there. The hard mode, you have to pick 2 buildings and put decharges on both of them. So you have to do it twice. So you still only get the 1 point for doing your classified, but you have to do it twice in order to get it. Hard mode is just annoying.
Do you think it would be more fun if it was
it's not interesting, it's just annoying.
If it was like, hey, in your enemy's half of the table, but not in their deployment zone. And then in hard mode, they're like, you have to pick a scenery item completely in your enemy's deployment zone and do that.
It's similar to some of the other hard modes that they chose.
But it's not just 2 in the same area.
Just do it twice. That's true. It's like, you pick 2 things right next to each other.
Yeah.
But the not saying that it makes it more difficult, it's that you're burning 4 orders on planting and detonating. Plant, detonate, plus all the movement involved. And again, high order count army lists will be more successful. So order spam is even kingier this year.
Not if you kill all their decharges.
Experimental drug, 8 points, has the cross, the Red Cross logo. Doctor or paramedic, recover a friendly model from unconscious. This is an old classified. We know this one. And again, the hard mode is do it twice, but it's worth noting that it says do it to 2 allied troopers. So if it's your, say, Spetsnaz HMG that goes down, and your paramedic crawls over and manages to heal him back up, and he gets up and he starts shooting again and then goes down again. If you heal him again,
Doesn't count?
That's not going to fulfill the classifier because it says 2 allied troopers, not just do it twice.
That one actually is hard sometimes.
Yeah. 2 different people heal him up. 9 is HVT espionage. This has a globe-like icon.
I'll say the global icon.
Hacker with the enemy HVT in zone of control has to do a short skill at whip -3. So this is exactly the same as it used to be. The hard mode is that the HVT may actually react with a reset.
That's actually interesting.
Yes.
That's really cool. Oh, man.
I like that.
I do like that one. Because most people are going to be like, F that, dog. That, you could reset the whole time? Shiza.
10-point card. Now we're really talking about Intel Com that might make a difference. 10-point card, HVT Retro Engineering. This is an engineer in base-to-base with the enemy HVT. They have to do a whip +3 roll and may use servants. It's the engineering version of the Doctor one we had for years.
See Sophatech to auto-win this roll.
Hard mode, same thing, but the whip roll is at -3 instead of +3.
See Sophatech to pretty much auto-win this roll.
Nah.
I'm just kidding. You've passed on 12s.
It makes her pano.
I know exactly.
So I'm going to do that 3 times.
Oh, man.
Up next is Test Run for 11 points. Same as last year, an engineer has to get a friendly model to recover 1 structure point. And the hard mode is do it twice, 2 allied troopers. So that makes it really hard on those factions that already found it almost impossible. If you're a Toha player and you brought 1 Kaori Sentinel just because of this classified,
You have to bring
you have to bring 2. Yeah, it's so. Still the same problems with Test Run. It does have a gear icon, which could be canceled or do the canceling. We don't know. We'll look at the missions. Nano Espionage has 2 icons. It has a red cross and it has a gear. And so Nano Espionage is 12 points. Engineer, Doctor, Paramedic, or the model that you chose as your data tracker has to be engaged with an enemy specialist. Right, so your base-to-base contact in the engaged state. Spend a short skill and make a willpower roll.
Goodness gracious.
So
That is interesting as all get out.
So you've got to get up to preferably an unconscious specialist so that you can do your short skill and not just get punched in the face.
Well, this is why the data tracker option is kind of good, because what if you make your data tracker somebody who is a multi-wound and you can just run in and engage and be like, I'm engaged, and then you idle and they punch you in the face and you either take a wound because you're a multi-wound or just survive the wound.
Or a multi-wound doctor like the heavy infantry in Haqqislam or the night hospitaler.
Yes.
But the hard mode is do the same thing, but the enemy has to be in a non-null state.
So this is where. So this is the situation we were just talking about.
Yep.
Oh man.
So if you were questioning, well, it says enemy specialist, can they be unconscious? Yes, absolutely. That is explicitly implied by the hard mode version, where they have to be in a non-null state, and that's the only difference. So preferably you get them unconscious first, and then walk up to it. Instead of coup de grace, spend a short skill to make a whip roll, and if you pass, you get the Nano Espionage classified.
So if you get Nano Espionage and you're playing combined, hopefully you have a Carotid or another multi-wound model where you can just run in and be like, punch me right here. It's like the guy standing there going, like, here, on my chin.
But you don't
right
have a
here,
data,
right on my chin.
You don't have a data tracker in every mission, though.
No.
So
that's a good point.
Yeah. So
that's a very good point.
Then you're looking at engineer, doctor, or paramedic
That's a very good point.
The large majority of whom don't have multiple wounds.
No, so that makes it extremely hard.
Well, in hard mode especially.
Yeah. Man, good point, Tom.
Number 13 is mapping. I find this one interesting. It has globe and targeter icons. Mapping, you need a forward observer or a hacker in base-to-base contact with a scenery element that is entirely within the enemy's deployment zone. Then you make a short skill and have to pass a willpower. So, they're mapping the building electronically.
Well, like they said, the anathematic is sitting here looking at the globe of the Earth going, this is the area.
The hard mode seems to be worded identically, exactly the same with no changes. So, the AD combat jump hackers are going to be super good at mapping. Because you can plop in next to a scenery item and, just outside their deployment zone, walk up to it in their deployment zone and do your mapping. That's going to be probably the most efficient way to get that off. For 14 points, data scan. We're all familiar with this one. Hacker spends a short skill, does a whip roll versus an enemy model in zone of control. They, of course, may reset, so it'll be face-to-face. The hard mode is your whip gets -3. HVT designation is 15 points. And these both have globe icons. And it's another familiar one. You have to do 2 successful forward observer or spotlight program rolls versus the enemy HVT. Spotlight on the one hand is nice because you just have to be in the hacking area. Zone of control, right? Mm-hmm. But it's the other side, the other edge of that sword is that it's -3 for the program. Forward observer needs line of fire. The hard mode for the HVT designation, right, is you not only have to do it to the enemy HVT, you also have to do it to your own. So you're doing it twice against 2 different targets. So, that's definitely if you're setting up second, and you have this as your classified, and you're deploying second, put your HVT near their HVT to make that easier on you instead of. And if you're setting up second and you don't have this classified, they might. So go ahead and put yours on the opposite side of the table of theirs, make it as hard as possible for them to try and pull off.
That's a good point, Tom. I actually missed that.
16 points. Telemetry, another oldie but a goodie, has a globe icon. Forward observer or spotlight, an enemy model. Hard mode is do that twice. Mm-hmm. So, easy peasy, we're familiar with telemetry. However, 17 is a brand new one. It's called Predator.
Oh, and I love that movie. And by the way, I was born in a city called Globe. So hopefully if I ever draw these globe classifieds, they'll have good luck for me.
Predator. To get the point for this classified, you must kill at least 2 enemy models in close combat, and performing a coup de grace does not count.
I like that, though.
This one has a bonus. This is the first time we've seen this on a classified card. If you kill 3 models or more, then you get an extra objective point, but you still max out at 10, only if you don't already have 10. The hard mode is +1. You have to kill 3 to get the classified, and you have to kill 4 to get the extra bonus point.
Freaking love that. Like, I love the bonus for conversations you and I have had about you should never get a negative. Like, you should never get a negative. Like, things shouldn't be bad, but if you do something really good, you should get a extra. This also makes me kind of excited because in our Escalation League, our Newcomers League, I played JSA. And I actually tried to play a limited insertion list at every aspect. Didn't get to play my 300 point this week, but my 300 points was still a limited insertion list. Because they are glass cannons. But something like this, if you were to draw, we're not playing Season 10 yet. But after playing it for a while, some of those factions that have like those high close combats, getting a bonus point for being able to pull this off, because it is easier for some factions that might lack in other areas. The fact that you draw this once out of 20 times would be amazing to get that one bonus, right?
There are definitely some factions that have certain models that can excel at killing models in close combat. This is a shooting game. Shooting is usually the better option, mostly because of the burst mechanic. And
but imagine those one-offs where you're gonna tie, and you're playing against a faction that can do this, and they do that. Hey, I'm excited to see how much that happens over the course of this season.
Yeah, Predator. Not a lot of close combat kills in most of my Infinity games of the last 7 years.
Might be now though,
and now you've got people like going out of their way to do something that's tactically unsound in order to try. I think this is one of those ones. Unless you're playing one of those factions like JSA, or maybe like
Caledonia, even
Corregidor, Caledonia, because Corregidor is the one with McMurrow, right?
Yeah, and also Senior Massacre.
Yeah. So, yeah, in those factions, they may not ignore it, but Fusilier Heavy NCA gets that one. They're like, so I'm gonna go secure the HVT. Am I? Got it.
Yeah, but that bonus. Just imagine like you're in a situation where you're like, man, in this mission, I might lose by 1. But that bonus comes in and you're like, man, I tied. Or you're going to tie and then you get the win. Or maybe it's you're going to get a minor because you're only 4 points ahead. But luckily the mission that you take has that and you get that bonus and it gives you that major that gives you a +1 tournament point. It's going to be kind of a corner case. But I'm curious to see how that affects things, and I think it's fun.
Well,
I think
and
it's a really cool addition.
It'll change some of the way you play as well. It's not just about Shinobu getting up there and killing whatever she touches, right? It's, well, I don't have that, so let me get this fire team all into a close combat.
There you
so
go.
At least I get 4 dice to try and kill this thing, and then, nope, Link Leader's dead. Oh, well.
But it goes into that situation where we were talking about one of our good friends, Tim. Woo. I almost just slid off the table here. Just so you guys know in Radioland, because you didn't even see that, how you had him pretty much beat, but he's always looking for a way to get more points. So even if you're losing, you're like, man, even if I lose, I need to get more points. So that's what I like about this. That's going to really, like you said, change the way people are thinking, change the way people are playing, because you're going to want to get that, hey, if I'm going to lose, I might as well try to get my bonus point. Or, man, I might only be able to win by 2, but I'm going to try to get that bonus point and then maybe get a major if they fail their whip rolls, whatever. I mean, it depends. It's all mission. Everything depends on the mission anyway, but the fact of that extra point, if you're going to get less than 10 anyway, is totally worth it. Because we see a lot of ties a lot of times.
Order is the most important resource. Killing 3 models in close combat for some is going to be extremely order intensive, and encourage securing the HVT, which is much less order intensive. Excellent artwork on the card with the knight slashing through a Toha there.
Yeah.
Rescue.
Is that a Toha or a Fracta?
Yes.
I mean, yeah, Sigma is what I meant.
So, yeah.
I was like, it's red. It looks like
Rescue
it's
is 18 points. A trooper, any trooper, no requirements. Isn't that nice? Trooper must be in the Kazhavak state with an ally on your own side of the table, but outside of your deployment zone. And then this one has a bonus. If you are in the enemy half of the table, you get an extra objective point up to a maximum of 10.
So this is everybody's favorite classified to...
I think it's hilarious because you're rescuing a guy by taking him closer to the enemy.
Right?
You get extra points for... Anyway.
But you can just be there, right? Or do they have to be in a null state?
who is the...
Whoever you're in Kazovac with.
Well, see, that brings us to an important point because... And we say Kazovac because it's casualty evacuation.
Yeah.
That brings us to a good point. Whoever uses the Kazovac rules. So that brings us up to a rule of the week.
Rule of the week.
So Kazovac, here's how that works. A trooper base to base with an ally model that is immobilized 1 or 2, stunned, or unconscious, has to spend a short skill to enter the Kazovac state with that model. They can only do it if their physique is greater than or equal to the model they're trying to basically pick up and carry. Okay? The unconscious model, I'm just going to say unconscious, but it's immobilized 1 or 2, stunned, or unconscious. Mm-hmm. That model then will follow them. There's no roll required. It's just a short skill. Then follows them in base-to-base contact. It does not block line of fire. They generate a single ARO. But yeah, you move it in base-to-base, like a supplies box from the supplies mission.
Yeah.
Move it in base-to-base with you as you move. While in the Kazovac state, the model who's doing the carrying can't fight.
No, you run.
You can only move, cautious move, change face, dodge, climb, jump, and reset. So you can't activate, you can't, that's it. That's the complete list of what you can do. It's basically all of the movement skills and dodging. The state is canceled if you spend an impetuous order on the model who's doing the carrying. It's canceled, obviously, if the model itself becomes immobilized or or in a null state, right? Or if somebody fixes the carried trooper, gets him out of the mobilized state, or heals him back up so he's no longer unconscious, it's canceled at that point. And if your model becomes a marker, like if you want to recamouflage, then the state is canceled. Mm-hmm. So, yes, it's an ally that's unconscious, stunned, immobilized 1 or 2. You go up short skill, then they follow you around. You can take them wherever. And that's how Kazovac works.
And going back to rescue, it's at the end of the game. So if you're going second and your opponent on their third turn runs a bunch of people in front of your forward observers, don't flash pulse them. Because they're just trying to get blinded so that they can go up with their multi-wound character and do this. But I like that they added this, though, because this isn't a thing that we haven't... Like, this was a big thing in... I'm literally flashing the card at Tom, like all of you guys can see this.
Stop flashing.
I know, right? It's a big thing that came out in Campaign Paradiso, which made me love Wolvers, because they could just run around with everybody. Not Wolvers, Cameronians, which you guys would know as dog warriors or devil dogs. And it was super fun. We don't see it too much nowadays in ITS, so I'm pretty glad that that's there now. It's a fun role.
Just remember that your physique has to be equal to or greater than the body you're trying to carry, and that you can't fight.
Nope. That's why the multi-wounds are really good.
You can only move and dodge. That whole list I read, but it's basically all the moving skills and the dodging and change face. So yeah, you have to get in Kazovac with an ally and then have it on your side of the table, but outside of your deployment zone. So that
End of the game, though.
that sniper that you had that went down, that's way back in the corner of your deployment zone. You can't just like casually move prone next to it, Kazovac it, and stay there.
Right.
It's got to be outside your deployment zone, but on your side of the table. If you get him to the enemy half of the table, +1 OP. You get that bonus, but you still max out at 10. Hard mode is you have to be in the enemy half of the table with your body.
Right.
And the bonus is +1 OP if you are totally in the enemy's deployment zone.
See, this makes it fun.
Save him by taking him across enemy lines.
So well, you got to think about, maybe you got ambushed, you have to break through their lines. You know, they're like, oh, we're stuck here and I have to get past those guys to get them to a doctor. That's what hard mode is. Think of it. So this actually makes it funny how I use the example of the Cameronians, because this is when it came up the most when we used to play with this, because it was Paradiso days. For all you Ariadna players out there, as Tom said, if your sniper goes down in your deployment zone and you spent one order every turn, which is a complete waste of orders, but you might have them to do that, you leave a Cameronian or one of these dog warriors here, and then on your last turn you run up Kazovac and then just haul butt and hope to survive. And hope to survive as you haul ass across the table. Like, that's what I would do in this situation, because they're stronger, so they just pick them up and they're like the Hulk with Iron Man. He grabs them and he goes jumping across the table, and they have total immunity, so hopefully they can survive all the way over there.
As long as you don't spend their impetuous order while carrying.
Exactly. That's why I said you have to cancel it pretty much every turn, which is highly inefficient if you're going to keep them back behind your deployment zone. Yeah, super. I mean, the extreme version I could see is like, crap, we got ambushed and I have to break through all those people. So I'm going to pick this guy up and I'm going to run, and hopefully nobody hits me because I have to get through there. And then another, 10 clicks beyond this. It's probably really far because I've never been in the military, so I don't even know how far that is. But that's pretty hard. You have to run through the fire and then get past it and get to your evac.
For 19 points, we have a new one called In Extremis Recovery. This has a cross icon. Troopers in an engaged state with an unconscious enemy. Do a short skill, do a whip +3 roll, and then you remove the enemy.
So it's like a whip +3 coup de grace?
You're digging through the back of their neck, pulling out their cube.
There it is. They're stacked.
It's the
right?
cube Jaeger.
It is.
But yeah, any trooper can do it. You have to be in an engaged state with an unconscious enemy or spawn embryo.
I like that it's any trooper.
Do the short skill and do a whip +3. Hard mode is whip -3. Womp womp. And then for 20 points, it's everybody's favorite. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's the most expensive, because it's probably the easiest one to do. It is Extreme Prejudice, where you have to perform a coup de grace. Hard mode is you have to perform 2 coup de graces. And everybody, yeah.
I like that they made that the most expensive,
yes,
though.
Absolutely.
Because, man, Intelcom used to piss me off. Because I would, it's funny is...
well, now it doesn't go up to 40 points.
Well, here's the thing, is it always went up to 40, and then I found out that at somewhere in the tournaments that I came to, my classified deck was totally effed to where I only had, 1 through 15 the way they used to do it. So I had 4 of everything, but I had the wrong numbers. It was so bad. I was like, why do I never get anything over 15 points?
That's why we've recommended on this podcast before to audit your classified decks.
You should. I did mine and I was like, wow. Well, what it was
every so often, definitely after major events.
I put the original one in my new thing, so I had the wrong one. So Intelcom never occurred to me because I had the wrong deck in the wrong package, which was funny. But I like that the higher the point is, technically the easier.
No, I don't.
Not really easier, but coup de grace.
I think it's definitely true with the 20 pointer anyway.
Yes.
Coup
de grace.
The killing people in close combat, unless you've designed you're playing a faction that does it, or you've designed your list specifically to try that. 17 points. That's if you're playing an Intelcom mission where you get points. That's like a no-brainer. I will trade that in and get points
for most factions. Yeah.
Or just ignore it and secure the HVT. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so those are the new classifieds. The last really new big thing besides changes to missions and whatnot, specifically to the mission, the next big global change is the inclusion of a new model that you have to have, and that is the Xenotech. So you need a new civilian model. I suppose you probably had plenty if you've played Rescue.
Yeah.
Although I've seen more I'm using models from the army I'm not playing as my civilians instead of like actually using civilian models.
I hope this actually prompts people to make more or collect the HVTs.
I play nomads and I play Pano. So since I'm playing nomads and we're playing rescue, these Fusiliers are my 4 rescue targets.
No, I'm a fan of trying to collect.
I see a lot.
Collect all of the HVT or civilians. Or I had our good friend make me a lot of pigs out of a certain thing. So one of my HVTs is 3 little pigs on a rubble pile, and that's like my favorite. That's my Xenotech, because that's my favorite HVT right now, other than my Go-Go Marlene that's painted, because that's usually my HVT. But be creative, like make something new. Nathan made his out of Joe Scarface, like the bootleg miniature.
Yep.
So they have a lot of bootleg lines that you could convert. They're not usually used in anything, and people are like, well, you have this bootleg line. Well,
There's also have a lot of civilian models, so whatever.
Yeah.
You need a new one, and you must include it in your army list. It doesn't cost any points. It doesn't take up any space in a combat group. It is a neutral civilian. It will be deployed in the Civivac state with a trooper that can do the Civivac state. So, in other words, they can't be markers. If you Civivac, they're revealed. No impetuous or extremely impetuous. They can't be a G servant. They can't have ghost synchronized. They cannot be a remote, and they cannot be part of a fire team or part of a coordinated order. So somebody that can synchronize deployed with that. He can be resynchronized by any eligible trooper later. And his total reason for existence is to place a multi-scanner. If he never does that, you lose 1 objective point. How do you place a multi-scanner? It is a short skill. While the Xenotech is placing a multi-scanner as a short skill, its controller will be considered to be idling. Okay? So if you move and place multi-scanner, he's idling. He can't dodge while the Xenotech places the multi-scanner.
so be
for
hiding.
example. He'll be idling as you place the multi-scanner with the Xenotech. And then you measure. If the Xenotech is within 4 inches of your deployment zone, the skill fails. Okay? There's no roll. It's just proximity to the deployment zone. The Xenotech model must be completely outside of 4 inches past your deployment zone,
So you
much like an HVT.
So you have to wait. They deploy in your deployment zone, correct?
Yes, they have no deployment skills, so they must deploy in your deployment zone.
So
Even if the model you want to sync them to has a deployment skill, they're still deploying in your deployment zone because neutral civilians do not have a deployment
So
skill.
essentially, you have to like move, and then move place.
Correct. It's a
Yeah.
it's a 2-order tax because the first order, if you just move 4 inches, you're still within 4 inches of your deployment zone.
What it says completely out of. So like
Yes. So if you move 4 inches, your entire base is still within 4 inches of your deployment zone. You must do a move, and then you can place it on a following order. So
a
it is
move place.
It is a 2-order tax levied against you for no benefit, only to avoid punishment of losing 1 objective point. You don't place a marker. You don't make a roll. Your enemy can't destroy it later. It's just, if he's outside of 4 inches when you declare the skill, then you succeed, you've done it, and then you save that 1 objective point that you otherwise would have lost. So, thoughts on the Xenotech, Kip?
So Tom, I usually go, hey, positive. And the first positive that I could think of is, let's think of last season where it was like backdoor and we had these data trackers and they're trying to track all of this data because there's people trying to work with the combined army and it could be propaganda and it could be not. So this new Xenotech, it's like, well, we found Shizvasti on a ship during Wotan, and we know that there's an incursion coming. And then Carlos just posted that there's a third offensive, so maybe the Xenotech is we're placing these scanners because maybe it's helping us like find the Shizvasti, and it's gonna play out a narrative role later in the game. But it costs you 2 orders, and that's all I can say because you have a better assessment.
No,
I mean that's all I can think of is so it's like
the Xenotech does not appear in every mission.
No,
so you're not going to lose an objective point in every mission.
No,
and
everybody's equal on that.
It's not like it's difficult to do, right? It's you can definitely deploy somewhere where you can move, and then do the skill, and then he just kind of follows you around. But you can definitely set up in an intelligent way to make it very easy to do. That's why I said it was a 2-order tax. It's not anything clever that you have to think about. It's not a puzzle to solve. It's just okay. I'm gonna Rambo Achilles on turn 1 and try and kill a bunch of stuff, right? So he's gonna have the Xenotech in tow because I'm moving him up anyway.
Okay.
And so I start, I move, and then I'm wasting really just the one short skill as I place the scanner and then move, right? And then because Achilles is faster, he keeps moving, and eventually he breaks the sync because he's too far ahead of it. Mm-hmm. But so it's nothing. It's not a puzzle to solve. It's not an interesting quandary. It's nothing you can really stop, right? Like, because anybody can then sync with it later.
Yeah, so if you're going second, you're like, well, what if I go second?
I'm going to put my Fide here to kill his guy that's synced with the Xenotech. And then I do that, and now I'm revealed, and now I get shot to pieces. And now somebody else just syncs with the Xenotech and moves up and does the thing anyway. Mm-hmm. You can't attack it. You can't damage it. You can't really prevent it. I suppose you could then, with the Fide, after you kill the controller, then sync with that neutral civilian and run it far away from your enemy and make it a real pain in the butt. But now you're spending a ton of orders just to inflict a -1 OP on your enemy, which could win you the game. Well, it's, that's a possibility. But so as a neutral civilian, any template weapons that would affect it are nullified.
Yeah.
And mines treated as a friendly, so they won't go off. You can't use it as like a mine sweeper, right? You can use it to get past a mine.
I was going to say you can use it as a mine meat shield,
but it won't remove the mine because
it just won't
treats
go
it
off.
as friendly.
Yeah.
But any templates that affect it will be nullified. And
man, that's such a good idea.
However, as a neutral civilian, this is in the FAQ of the ITS-10, where there's a bunch of questions, and some of them have been answered. And this is probably the most important one. As a neutral civilian, even though it's G-synced to an enemy model, it does not provoke AROs.
No, man, that was the dumbest thing.
So, yeah, you could, if it did provoke AROs, there's a situation where you can sync it to an MSV model.
So bad.
That's in smoke, and then you move, keeping the MSV model in the smoke. You move the Xenotech out of the smoke. Now they're forced to ARO against the Xenotech, and since they can't damage it, they are dodging or whatever. And now I'm shooting at you through the smoke unopposed,
which is wrong. Which was deemed wrong.
Yes. So no,
I'm thankful for that.
Neutral civilians will not provoke AROs, even though they are synced to an enemy model. They're not going to provoke an ARO. So that clears that up for now.
And I honestly think that the example that you gave initially is what scares me about this, because whoever gets first turn on the missions where you can do this have an advantage, because like you said, they could place that model, and anywhere between 8 inches, they can place another one and sync it. Like Achilles, you can place Achilles as a reserve model, and then he's synced with this model, and then can run in Rambo on turn 1. Well, the person that's turn 2, like if they get their guy smoked, they actually have to move up and then spend another order to sync and then spend more orders to move out. So like going second in a mission with this Xenotech, if you're out of position, like deployment becomes a big deal because you're like, hey, you have to really counter deploy your opponent thinking of where their reserve is going to be, because if you don't, they get totally screwed out of 4 orders. It's already going to take 2 of your orders to not lose a point. But if you go second and you deploy really bad, like it could make it to where you really, it's going to be difficult to do this at all.
I'm going to experiment with not even worrying about it.
Okay.
And attacking the mission like I normally would on turns 1 and 2. And then in the third turn, depending on score, depending on orders, like then, okay, it's turn 3. Now I need to spend those 2 orders to move the Xenotech guy out and drop the thing so I don't lose an objective point, rather than making it like the Achilles example where, well, I'm going to Rambo him anyway, so my first 2 orders,
yeah, but if you have that, that's a smart play.
Yeah, but if you have Achilles, you probably have 10 orders, and, well, I shouldn't say probably. Your orders might... You need them to do more important things. This is losing 1 objective point. You need to go get 10. And your orders might be way more valuable getting the 10.
True.
And then at the end of the game, okay, now I've beaten him into submission. I've done all the things. Now I have those extra orders where usually I'd run around and just kill more victory points. Now I can spend those 2 order tax to accomplish the Xenotech thing.
Okay. And again, like we'll get into this more when we go dive deeply into the missions that actually have this, but it's really intriguing. It really is. And I really liked the initial take that Tom was like, it's 2 order tax. And every rebuttal I had, it was a very hard argument, honestly.
There are
like
6 missions that use the Xenotech.
Okay.
So it's not every mission. It's not all the time. There are only 6.
Only 6. That's not bad.
And you know how I found that so fast? Is I went to the Comlog app. Because in the list of all the different missions, there are a series of icons.
Oh, it's so good, you guys.
Each icon means a different thing. So you can look and see acquisition has 5 different icons, indicating that it has data tracker. It has the money sign, which I forget what that is. HVT, high value target.
Value, I'll say.
So data tracker, high value target, retreat, because there's a little dude running away. A little spy in his trench coat, so
classified.
It has,
and it usually has a number too, right?
And then a science bottle. It's the flask that is like a triangle on the bottom.
A beaker.
But beakers are cylindrical.
Oh, beakers are cylindrical. It's a triangle beaker.
Yeah. It's the science bottle, Kip. That's the official name. It's got a science bottle. And so you can look at a glance to see which missions have which little special things. I can see that the grid has the $sign, so it has a high value target, and it's got a running man, so retreat is in effect, and it's got a little targeting reticle thing, so that means it has a designated target.
Yes.
Right? And I can tell at a glance with these icons. Comlog, it's amazing. You should download it. It's free. And it's very compact, so it fits on your phone. You're not downloading gigawatts of data. So...
Please don't download 1.21 gigawatts, because then we'll all go back and forth through time.
So it's funny because it's gigawatts, but then it's also funny because there's a local restaurant who has a burger called the Flux Capacitor, and they spelled it JIGGA watt, and it's hilarious every time I see it.
Which restaurant is that?
That is the Copper Still Moonshine Grill.
And I've never been there yet. Why have we not eaten there on a podcast night?
I do, because live trivia is there, pub trivia. So
what nights?
Friday and Saturday, or Thursday and Friday.
Kinsey and I need to come.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, we do.
Anyway, we need her for the basketball trivia.
Right?
So, Xenotech, your new 2-order tax, and then all of the extra orders you have to spend, especially if you play hard mode classifieds. I think order spam has...
I don't want to see that, though.
It's very enticing because you have a lot of stuff to do. You still have to do the same old missions, but now you have to do all these other things as well. I think high order counts will be very valuable this season.
Really don't want to see that. I was actually really excited to play JSA at... I mean, granted, it was building up, so like playing with only 10 orders, even at 300 points, was really exciting. And people are like, wait, you're playing a limited insertion list? I'm like, yeah, it's fun. It could do it. It could do the mission that we're playing.
Well, here's a positive spin then. Used to be that you would play your 10 order list and you would get 2 removed. Now you play your 10 order list and you don't get those 2 removed.
Well, of course.
So your Xenotech is free.
Kinda.
Right? You would have lost those 2 orders anyway because they would have taken them away with a command token.
Kind of. True. Kind of. I love that you went totally positive on that.
Spin Doctor.
One, two, princess who adore you. That's what I said now. Bam, duet, motherfuckers.
And so, yeah, that's...
Because we don't cuss on this
I want to
show.
go back to the beginning of the show and redo the intro so that we say it's episode 201 to Princes.
Princess who adore... That's such a good song. We should...
Well...
it's still a good song.
If you... Okay,
Buy me flowers. Yeah, that's good.
So I love when we do sports or pop culture or music,
Right.
and
To the half of you
and then
that
people
just
play
tuned
Angry
out.
Birds at us.
I know, right?
I love
For the
it.
half of you do now, because...
All right,
guess
so
what? Guess what? Josh Rosen kicked butt this week.
that's basically the first section of the ITS pack, the rules before the missions, and we'll start to talk. There are a lot of old favorite missions. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of missions that have come back.
Armory, baby.
Armory is back.
baby. Armory is back.
So yeah,
Love it.
go over to Warsenal and pick yourself up a Cosmica Armory or a command bunker because
Start
you need
making
those.
doors damaged, not destroyed.
You need those 8-inch objective buildings again.
Oh man!
Engineering decks back and Frostbite from the Karagi Crisis has made it in.
I was hoping that made it into this season because Frostbite is actually an extremely fun mission to play.
I love Unmasking.
one of my favorites.
I'm glad it.
Unmasking's good.
I'm glad it became an official mission for ITS. So yeah, we'll talk about all the specific ones as well, but that's like the basic major changes. Get out there, play games, and have fun with all the new stuff.
That's what it's about.
Take all your medium infantry veterans.
Right?
So so we've got Armageddon.
I wish I had Armageddon.
Yeah, coming up this weekend.
I'm very upset I'm not going to be.
And
Actually very upset.
so I think what I'd like to do for next week's show, Kip, is independently we'll go through
Will Smith it.
We'll go through the factions, and we will come up with our with the new classified deck.
Okay.
Alluded to it earlier when we were talking about them. We'll go through and we'll come up with a couple members from each faction that are classified all-stars.
Oh, that's a really good way to do that.
Because they can do multiple things in one model. No
Okay.
matter what you draw, this is a super efficient model to take. If you look at it on face value, you're like, okay, I've got to take a veteran elite. I've got to take an engineer. I've got to take a doctor. I've got to take a... I got to take a... I got to take
Okay.
right? And so you end up with 9 models that you have to take just to cover all your classifieds. Oh my gosh, we're playing highly classified. I've got to cover all my bases. So here, I got these 9 models, and I have 62 points left for guns. Right?
So classified all-stars.
So we're going to go through, and we're going to try and find our classified all-stars where instead of taking those 8 models that you need to cover all the bases, you've got one model that covers 4 of those bases.
And when you say faction specific...
Just by faction.
Oh, so like, hey, let's go pan out. Boom.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that will cover the sectorials that they appear in.
True.
Right? So we don't have to do every faction and sectorial. We just do the major factions because that includes the only sectorial. I believe this is true. And listeners, if this is not true, I want you to point out the ones that I've missed. But I believe that with the new Tartary Armored Corps sectorial and the courier and the courier tractor mules, I believe are the only model outside of mercenaries.
Okay.
The only model that's available in a sectorial that is not available in the parent faction at all.
Yeah, because the couriers are only
tech.
Which
But
makes
I don't
it
think,
easier to do the freaking hard mode.
I don't think that exists anywhere else. I think that's the only... Because there's obviously a lot where the parent faction has a bunch and the sectorial is cut down. But in the reverse, I think this is the very first one. Cervantes pointed that out and was asking...
Can you even take couriers outside attack?
That's what I'm saying, Kip.
Okay.
They're only in TAC. They're not in the parent faction. I think it's the only instance of a model that's like that.
That's insane.
Outside, of course, of the mercenaries that can be taken in the sectorials. So if you can think of others, let us know. Because I think that's the first instance of it. And it's like, whoa, what?
Well, you said that, and I was like, I don't remember seeing that in regular Ariadna. And I don't remember double checking.
The whole point.
So yes, you are completely right. But then you make me second guess myself.
So yeah,
But I just do that on the regular.
Gentle listeners, what are your thoughts about Season 10 and bravery and landing assistance and characters being veterans and the Xenotech and the new classifieds? Please let us know at tom@MayaCast.com.
And hate mail to kip@mycast.com.
And we will give out
hate mail at willit@mycast.com.
All complaints go to Willit at MayaCast.com.
He's very good at handling that stuff.
If you like this episode, let us know at tom@MayaCast.com.
And if you really love it, say kip@mycast.com and tom@mycast.com.
And if you hated the episode, make sure you send all of those awful thoughts to Willit.
Willit@mycast.com.
That is 2 L's and 2 T's, just to make sure you get it right. WILLETT at MayaCast.com. He gets the negative stuff.
Yes.
We get the positive stuff.
He handles it so well.
So yeah, thanks for listening, and until next time, get out there and support your local game stores.
To find out how you can support the show, go to patreon.com/MayaCast.
You can find us online at www.mayacast.com.
We are on Facebook at facebook.com/InfinityMayaCast.
Follow at Maya Podcast on Twitter.
Join the MayaCast forum group on Facebook.
And as always, you can email us at tom@mayacast.com.
And kip@mycast.com.